All right, we are in AI Writers Guild, Module 1, Intro to AI and Novel Writing. Lesson 2, The Basics of Novel Writing with AI Assistance. And just a reminder that this is our roadmap. We have 6 parts to get through. Right now, we are at the Foundations of AI-Assisted Novel Writing in weeks 1 and 2. All right, so what are we going to talk about today? There's a few things we're going to go over, and then we'll have our normal 3 assignments. So the objective for this lesson aims to provide students with an understanding of how AI can assist in the foundational aspects of novel writing, including idea generation. You can use ChatGPT and other sources for getting good ideas. Outlining. You can outline your novel with ChatGPT and other tools. Character development. What if you want to further develop your character? Like, you want it to be a boy or a girl, and you know what you want the name to be, but what if you want to come up with all the little quirks about your character? ChatGPT is great at helping you do that. We're going to talk about that. World building, I'm going to show you some tools over the course of how you can create your world and even see it in 3D and animated versions. So it's really cool, the stuff that you can do to see the world that you're building. And recognizing the limitations and ethical considerations of AI use, because we can't talk about AI and all the wonderful things that it does without also discussing the worries that we might have and things that we have to look out for. So idea generation, what kind of things are you going to generate for ideas? You could get story ideas, theme ideas, genre ideas. What's a genre? If you like fantasy books, fantasy is a genre. If you like nonfiction books, nonfiction is a genre. And so we're going to come up with different ideas using ChatGPT. And by the way, these graphics that I made were done about 6 months ago using DALL-E 3 in ChatGPT, if you're curious about that. Outlining and plot development with AI. We can create story outlines. This is one of the best ways to use ChatGPT to write a novel. Maybe you want to actually write the book yourself with your own pen, but you want to come up with the outline really quickly and in a good format. We're going to show you how to do that. Plot structures. Character development. So that's obvious, right? We can make some really cool character developments and even come up with pictures of your characters if you want. World building. As I said, I'm going to be showing you the coolest AI tool ever on world building. So sit tight. That's a couple weeks away, but that's probably the most, to me, cool thing, the cool tool that we'll be using. Ethical considerations. Okay, like I said, we can have all these really cool things and tools and gadgets, but we have to always keep in mind what could come from it. So we watch out for it. We help, as we get older, we help set laws that protect humanity from the potential negative outcomes of computers. So originality. AI generates content based on data it's trained on, which can raise questions about the originality of the output. There's a concern that AI content may inadvertently mimic existing works, leading to issues of creative uniqueness. This is true. So imagine I go to ChatGPT and I ask it a question and it spits something out. That came from somewhere. So to some degree, they're loading it up with good prose and content, and then what happens is it reprograms like an algorithm to rearrange the words, find synonyms, find antonyms, talk in a more distinguished tone, and then the computer people who define AI define what tones mean to the computer so that it can select the tones that you're looking for. So it is kind of like squashing it together like you would be making a clay vase. You have the clay, but we're squashing it into a different form is what's happening. So originality is both true, that maybe this is a problem, but also it's a bit misunderstood. The computer is not just going out and grabbing something like Google does and then slapping it into the answer space of the screen. It is it's squishing it together into totally different form. So there's that. Intellectual property. The use of AI in writing blurs the lines of authorship and intellectual property. It's important to clarify who owns the rights to AI-generated content. So this is important because after I get something out of ChatGPT, can I claim authorship? And nobody really knows the answer to this one yet. I'm going to be honest. It is a bit convoluted that I should be able to put my name on something that the computer helped me write. At the same time, it's not writing it for me because I put the prompt in and told it what to do. So this is a really interesting, this one is probably the most interesting conversation to me. Authorial voice. AI may struggle to capture the unique voice and style of an individual author. So I have a voice when I write, and I actually went out to ChatGPT one time and said, what author does my voice sound like? And it told me Jodi Picoult. So it can actually kind of see what kind of thing you're writing about and how you say it and what language you use, and then tell you what authors you sound like. So it does kind of have the ability to do the whole authorial voice thing. Relying heavily on AI can lead to homogenized writing styles lacking personal touch. So be careful not to lose your authorial voice. Always write some yourself and at least get ChatGPT to know your voice so that you can kind of keep that voice and you don't end up with a patchwork quilt of different author voices as you go about a long, long book like a novel. Cultural and contextual sensitivity. AI systems may not fully understand cultural nuances, historical context, or ethical considerations in storytelling, potentially leading to content that is insensitive, inappropriate, or stereotypical. And sometimes it's not really even negative. It can be just funny, the things that ChatGPT thinks in terms of biases. Because every time I post about myself and I call myself a woman from Alabama, I end up, and then if I ask to generate a picture of what that looks like to ChatGPT or DALL-E 3, it will always put me sitting on a front porch. So I don't know what it is about Alabama and front porches. AI believes we all sit on front porches and sip lemonade, I think. So it is not always negative, the biases and the cultural issues that it puts out there. Sometimes it can be insulting, but it's something that the computer definitely is going to be working on in the next decade. AI developers. Dependency on AI. There's a risk that writers may become overly dependent on AI for creative processes, which could inhibit the development of their own writing skills and creativity. Now, this one I think is a misnomer. Over the last year, through my writing with ChatGPT, I would say that my writing skills have actually gone up. So what happens is when you put a prompt in and you know what you were going to say, and then a prompt comes out and you're like, wow, that was such an eloquent way of saying that. I might not have said it that way. You end up looking at it and deciding what it did different. Even if you don't try very hard, you might just magically notice it. It could be word choice, like, oh, I wouldn't have used that word and I learned a new vocab word today, or long sentences done right with good grammar that I might not have done, but now I look at it and I kind of might be able to do that next time. So yes, it's dependency on AI. No, I don't think we're lowering our writing skills. I think 10 years from now, we're going to find a collective raising of the bar with the use of AI. We'll see what happens. Data privacy and security. Using AI tools for writing involves sharing ideas and content with the AI system, which raises concerns about data privacy and the security of intellectual property. This is definitely a concern. This is another one of those that is going to be discussed in Congress for the next decade. Obviously, if I put something into AI, into ChatGPT, does it own my thoughts now? Can I get them back out? Are they there forever? There is no privacy anymore. Do not ever put pictures of yourself into ChatGPT. So there's going to be all sorts of learning as we go forward on data privacy, because we're having these long conversations about our thoughts and feelings and dreams with ChatGPT, and is there privacy anymore? That's going to be a tricky thing. So be careful what we put in. Know that it will never be erased. It's not like a post on a thread. You can delete the thread, but it's always going to be out there in terms of ChatGPT. So the owners of ChatGPT, even though you deleted it on your end, still have everything that you put out there. So we need to be wary of that and be very cautious. Bias and stereotyping. AI-generated content can reflect biases. Well, we kind of already talked about this. Let's do the next one. Legal and ethical accountability. The legal landscape around AI-generated content is still evolving. Issues like plagiarism, copyright infringement, and ethical accountability of AI-generated works pose complex legal challenges. This is interesting because you have law at the federal level and the state level, and sometimes even certain things at the local level. And so a lot of this legal landscape stuff with AI is going to be changing at multiple different levels. I know in Alabama we have an AI task force at the state level, but they're trying to even implement a task force for AI at the city level of Huntsville. And so all these different ethical decisions and rulings are going to be starting to be made in terms of how do you follow the law now that AI is on the scene, because it's never been on the scene before. So anything in the books now in terms of how the laws were written in the past, they don't address this new thing. And so a lot of the old laws are going to have to be addressed and rewritten with the new language of AI to cover safety and all these things. That will be coming as we go through the course. I will bring in some of that stuff and teach you guys what's going on in Congress and all that. We did that last year. And it was a lot of fun. Okay, so what are you going to do this week? You are going to read Word Wizards through chapter 1. So I have that book right here, and I just wanted to address it for just a second. I want you to open it up and look inside. And I don't just want you to go to chapter 1. I want you to look inside the first page and see how the pictures are done. What pages have pictures? What pages have page numbers? What pages have the author's name? What pages have a dedication? What is a dedication versus an acknowledgement? What is going to be in my table of contents? How do I make a table of contents? And then after the table of contents, maybe I have some pictures. What kind of pictures do we want to have in our book? Do we want to have, I made all of these with, I use the term black and white pencil sketch. So as you're thinking about all the different components of your book, I want you to be thinking, what is my book going to look like? So it's so important to have this book because your book is going to be, I'm going to be guiding you to make it in the same format. So you can make slight variances and changes, but in terms of like the shape of the book and how fat it is, can I fit my words on the side? When we get to the end of this class and we start talking about publishing your book, self-publishing on Amazon KDP, you're going to learn a lot about how the publishing industry works, and that's going to be a lot of fun too. So when I ask you to read the Word Wizards books, I don't just want you to read it for content. I want you to be assessing its function and form. All right, so read that this week. Do the good book versus bad book assignment in the materials section, and I'll go over that in just a second. And post about your favorite book in Engage. So after you do the good book, bad book assessment, you will probably have an idea of what you want to talk about in Engage. All right, so we're inside the lesson now, the good book versus bad book assignment in the materials section. So if I'm in lesson 2 of my AI Writers Guild, you will see a video here. I haven't put this video out there yet, but here's our homework assignment. If I go to the materials section, here is the good book versus bad book assignment. And just open this up and go through it and put in your thoughts, understanding the quality in a book. Think about a book you enjoyed reading. What made it enjoyable? Write down at least 3 things about the book that you think made it good. Interesting characters, an exciting plot, or the way it was written. Now think about a book you didn't enjoy as much. Why didn't you like it? List at least 3 reasons why you thought the book wasn't good. And then identifying elements of a good book. And you're going to kind of go through each of these things and decide, do I care about interesting characters? 5 is it's very important to me. 1 is it's not very important to me. I love good characters, so to me it would be a 5. And just kind of decide each of these things for you because you're allowed to be different than every other person when it comes to choosing your favorite book. We're all unique individuals, and decide kind of, maybe you've never thought through this before on why you don't finish a book. Maybe there's something more to it, and this will help you pick good books in the future. Do you think it's possible for a book to be good for some people and bad for others? What's more important to you, how a book makes you feel or how well it's written? That's interesting. Answer that question. That might be different for everybody as well. Book review challenge. Choose one book you've read recently. Write a short review about it based on what we've discussed. Include whether you think it's a good or bad book. So Harry Potter might be fun to write about here. And I loved the 3 primary characters. So that would be called the protagonist, Harry Potter, and sidekicks, Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger. And there was something about the setting, too, that was so magical. So to me, a great setting that brings a world to life is so important if it's done well. So I would probably say something like that in this. And then you're going to go out into Engage and kind of say maybe something that you said here. Just go ahead and type it out into Engage, and we'll see what everybody thinks this week about good books and bad books. I'll see you next time.